Hello everyone, this is Chris with StickerFab. Today I'm going to show you the install of the lower door protection. And usually I try to get these videos knocked out in just one straight shot, have my wife out here and whatnot, but there's kind of a few steps to get this done. The reason why I did this is because these mud terrain tires, they do get a bunch of rocks inside of them. That's really a much smaller one. Usually you'll get like a rock that'll fit right in there, so kind of big. And a lot of the times it's hitting on this area of the door that is kind of angled this way more so than way up here. You'll get some splash from water, as you can see, as it pulls up the water in there, but I think most of the rocks stay kind of low. So we're gonna do this install video. There's gonna be a few steps, a few tips. If you can see, when I was installing this, it was really warm. I was doing it by myself, and I didn't catch that the material was stretching a little bit here, so it kind of goes down, and then I matched it up there, so it goes back up. These do wrap around the door slightly, so you're gonna want to clean this area off as well. Right in there, all the way to the front, and then here. Just go over to that part of the door. These have only been on like at night. Last night I installed these. And you can see those are gonna wrap around the back too. If you want, when you find your corner, you can cut a little bit of that material out. I really didn't prep this too well because I was also test fitting at the same time, but it happened to work out to where it was the right size, so I didn't have to cut another one. So make sure all of this is really clean up in here. I would grab a few microfibers, some detailing spray, especially depending on how dirty your car is. You don't want to be like rubbing mud off with a microfiber. Our vehicle was pretty clean, but just driving around the neighborhood in the mornings, you're gonna get a little sand. We're in Florida. Kicked up there, so I'll probably use a couple microfibers on the outside to make sure I'm not pushing that dirt around. So this kit will come with the squeegee, the felt tip squeegee, because you are pushing down a lot of vinyl over a big area. And I do recommend having a heat gun or a hair dryer. I sold my wife's because I don't know where my heat gun is. I just got all this stuff back. So we'd actually have 2 garage spots. We used to have 3 garage spots, but this house we only have 2, and we have no basement. So I just put it all back there. I'll have to figure out where everything is later. So let me get my wife, and I will clean this off, and we'll start shooting from there. All right, now we're gonna be on to the actual install. I basically cleaned all the areas. The application area is right in here, as you've seen from the other side, but I cleaned any area where the vinyl might come in contact while I'm trying to install it. I didn't want any of that dirt, debris to get on the actual vinyl, because once we install it on the paint, it'll be stuck under the paint. So pretty much all of these areas around it, a strip above it, a strip, the seal below it, and all up in the gaps. And I did prepare my bowl of water with just a little dish soap in it. We're going to place this on the back of the vinyl so that once we put it on, it doesn't dry immediately and stick, and then we can't peel it back up. If you've seen any of my other videos on the smaller stuff, I usually lick the stuff like a stamp just because it's easier than getting a whole bowl of water out just for that. But this is a larger application, so I do recommend getting a bowl of soapy water ready. Okay. So your vinyls are going to come kind of printed out like this. I'm going to change the orientation around so that they're pretty much aligned the way they would go on the vehicle. So you just take it off and then put it on. But I didn't think about that before I printed this one out. We're going to start with the smallest piece, which goes in front of the driver's side door. At this point, when you're peeling these off, you want to be really careful. I would do it, all of this install in the shade so that the heat doesn't affect the vinyl, unless you're doing it when it's really cold. Make sure that the vinyl doesn't lay on itself. Once it gets stuck to it, it's hard to peel up without stretching. So I'm just gonna put a bunch of this soapy water on the back. It'll be a lot easier to handle. So you don't want it to be like all parts soap and no water, or this will basically never stick to the vehicle. All right, I had to take a quick break there. I did have the alignment wrong on this. Like I said, when you guys get it off the paper, it's gonna be aligned correctly. So the front piece has this little curve towards the back, and then it's a slight curve forward on the driver's side right here. So make sure you align this straight along that seam that goes all the way back in the body, and then along the front it kind of follows this line. Go ahead and get your felt tip squeegee, push out the water. Once you get all that done, you want to go ahead and open the door so you can get back here. You're going to use your heat source, which in my case I'm just using a hair dryer. We'll apply some heat to this area and then fold it around the back side. Move. Alright, now we're going to install the hardest piece. What I'm doing right now is trying to get all the sand off of this. Accidentally pushed down right there and you can see the indentions of the driveway. So don't do that, but we are going to use heat so we can probably stretch this right back out. I used to skip around in some of these installs and just give some tips, but I know some people like to see the full detailed install and the problems I run up against. So I'm going to fold this back and I'm going to apply the soapy water like right now. Especially if it was windy, it'd probably save me from sticking the material back onto itself. Like I said in the earlier piece, when the adhesive touches another piece of adhesive, it really doesn't want to break free after that. Let's go up to the door of the vehicle. These pieces are pretty easy to figure out. The straight edge is towards the back of the front door, and then the back piece we'll start with a straight edge. So the area where it's most visible that you've misaligned is when it meets up with another piece. So you want to make sure that piece lines up. You want to make sure that there's a little overhang. There should be a little overhang in the back, a little overhang in the front, and then there will be a little overhang on the bottom naturally as long as you align it with this lower line of the seam. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to push this water out. You want to be able to kind of get your fingers under the bottom. I'm going to pull the door open. So you're kind of pushing everything out. Pushing from the middle outwards. Usually don't like to push everything out one way. I like to split the difference, push a little up, push a little down. Paint defect right there, so you can kind of see the contour of that. So now I'm going to break that hair dryer back out. Apply a little heat. So you can see I'm kind of pushing the material down from the back and getting all that excess wrapped around this. Alright, so now the second panel is done. You might have noticed that I took my ring off. If you have anything on your hands and you're kind of pushing your fingers back in these seams, you could kind of scrape the paint. So I do recommend, if you have anything on your fingers, go ahead and take that off. And now we'll do the last piece, the last door right here. This is the front, because that's straight edge, and then the angled part, or the curved part, is towards the rear. Open this door slightly. think that's the neighbor's M5 competition. I heard it's tuned. All right. Start in the middle. Yep. So as long as you get this line pretty straight when you're applying it and you don't like bend the vinyl to make it appear straight, then you won't have this like kink up at the bottom. This front, I got really lucky on that, and the install felt way better than the other side. If you notice here, we're getting a few more bends in the middle, but nothing that can't be stretched out. I'm just making sure that it doesn't want to crease, hard crease. Then I'll come back with a little bit of heat. So if you have a heat gun, my general rule of thumb is if it burns you, it might burn the vinyl too much. A lot of the stuff what we're doing is pretty simple. That's why we're doing pre-cut vinyls. So I've never really needed more than a hairdryer. Grabbing the bottom and pulling it around the backside. It's basically just stretching out that vinyl. On the corners, be careful. You don't want to stretch it so much that you tear the corner. Just be cognizant of which direction you're pulling the vinyl. It's easier to pull it down towards a seam that's kind of like not visible. If we pulled and stretched the vinyl up towards here, you'd see that line go diagonally upwards. Want to keep this line straight, of course. So now I'm gonna have to pretty much pull this door all the way open. The bottom part you can wrap around the back side, but there's like a flat edge on the front here. Pull this door open, we'll be able to see that. Try not to dig your fingernails into the paint too much. One, it could be self paint, or two, in general, these vehicles are pretty new at the moment, so the paint's a little soft. So now that that all looks good, I'm gonna go around the backside with the heat. Same thing we did to the other door. All right, so in general, I do like applying matte vinyl. It seems to be one of the most, one of the easiest vinyls to apply to a vehicle. Initially, we're only going to offer this in matte black. If someone wants to try a custom color, we can cut it. We'll get feedback before we actually start selling it. So those lines match up a lot better on this side. And there we have it. So if you guys want, we will make an option on our page, and then you could just have a second printout, whether or not you go off-roading, you think that it's going to get damaged, or you're going to have a little problem during the install, and we'll just make the second one like $5, just so you can have a backup set. You can see we printed out on 24-inch wide vinyl, and it takes over a yard to do one set. So if you guys have any questions, just reach out to us. Be sure to like, subscribe, and if there's any ideas you guys have for this vehicle, we'd be more than happy to try to knock it out or try to talk to you about it, see who could get it done if we can't get it done. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out.